Now we will discuss regarding subnetting. Basically, this idea of subnetting has come to utilize these IP addresses in an organization in a better way, and in turn it should help in routing. So normally this subnetting idea, say for example, we are having some network address for our organization, and in organization we want to divide the given organization network itself into a smaller network so that maintenance should be in a better way. So for that, what we did is we are creating a multiple small networks in a given network. So these small networks, we are calling them as a subnetworks. These subnetworks are created by using the host part of the address that is allocated to an organization. So normally in an IP address we will going to have two parts. One is prefix and another is suffix. So this prefix part basically is meant for identifying the network. So this prefix part will going to be assigned to us by ISPs or some bigger organization than the ISP. So they give us this prefix. So for our internal purpose to manage the network in a better way, we are dividing this suffix part into again two parts. And see this part, this part we use it to address the networks within the organizations. These networks we call them as subnetworks. This is my network and these are my subnetworks. So to address these subnetworks, I am going to use this block of IP addresses. And remaining part of the IP address will be used for identifying the hosts that are connected to each subnet. So this gives, this again helps to to perform the routing faster, and apart from that, it also helps us to maintain the network in a better way. So for that purpose, we are dividing the AGIA network in this fashion. So now, how exactly this subnetwork part is going to be identified? So as it was told to you, like we are going to have number of addresses or number of subnetworks that are present in the given network is given by n sub. It is somewhat similar to the number of hosts what we have discussed in the previous case, that was given by 2 raised to 32 minus n, one which was helping us to find the number of addresses in the organization. In the same fashion, n sub is going to be given by 2 raised to 32 minus n sub. Total number of bits including subnet bits will going to tell you the number of subnets in the organizations. Okay, so this will be useful for us to identify. Normally when it comes to a subnetworks, so subnets will be based on, or it will be divided in terms of power of 2. So when it comes to creating of a subnet, it has to be, we are adhering to the rule of using a power of 2. Say if you are planning to have a 4 subnet, that means it is 2 raised to 2. If you are planning to have 2 subnetworks, it is 2 raised to 1, 2 raised to 0. So 2 raised to 3 means 8. You don't have an in between number from 4 to 8. So even if you are planning for 6 subnets, you have to go for the 8 only. So because in case if you want to have the integer values, it has to be a power of 2 itself. So for that purpose, we go for dividing the subnets into a power of 2. So this is regarding subnet. So next is we talk regarding NAT, Network Address Translation. So basically this is also one of the technique which will be useful in utilizing the IP address in a better way. So how exactly this NAT works? Okay, so to know regarding that, first I talk regarding two classes of address, public address and private address. So public addresses are generally used to recognize the machines in the internet or in a public domain. When it comes to the private IP addresses, they are used for internal purpose. This is also one of the technique that what we use to utilize the IP addresses in a better way. So we are dividing the IP addresses into two classes, where a public IP addresses are meant for identifying the machines in the internet by say unique name. So these public IP addresses assigning the unique name to the machines which are there in the network or in the internet. But when it comes to the private IP addresses are never used to identify the devices in the network. Okay, these private addresses are for internal purpose. Okay, so normally these private IP addresses are allowed to be reused. Okay, say for example, whatever the private IP addresses KLE college has, same set of private IP addresses are allowed to be used by GIT because they are private. Okay, as I said, they will not be used in the public domain to identify the machines. But public IP addresses are unique because they are used to identify specific machines. Okay, so in NAT use this idea of private IP addresses and public IP addresses. Normally, to utilize these IP addresses in a better way, rather than till now what we have discussed, classless inter-domain routing, classless addresses, classful addressing scheme, all this is connected with public IP. Okay, now what we are talking is connection with private IP addresses. So whenever some organization, say as I said, it is for better utilization of IP addresses, I will just demonstrate you how exactly it will going to be useful in utilizing the IP addresses. Say our organization has say 100 machines. Okay, all these machines will going to be identified with some private IP address. We are assigning a some, rather than specifying mentioning the specific address, I'll just write it as private IPs. These machines are assigned with the private IPs. So that means it is not possible for an external machine to access these machines with the help of this IP. In case if you assign a public IP to these machines, it is possible for an external machine to access them, or directly it can contact them. But in this case, when it comes to the private IP addresses, it is not so. You cannot access these machines outside this organization. Only they are meant for internal usage of organization. These private IP addresses are meant to use inside the organizations. So, as I said, they are say reusable. So these private IP addresses, some other organization may also use the same set of private IP addresses. There is no restriction of usage of private IP addresses inside the organization. But only thing is they are not allowed to be used for a communication in the public domain. So now when we use the private IP addresses, how you can make these machines to communicate with the external servers or external devices, external machines. Okay, say for example, if you want to access a Google server which is outside your organization, how are you going to communicate with this using these private IP addresses on these machines? Okay, so for that the technique used is network address translation technique. Your whole organization in this case is identified by single public IP. All the machines of this organizations will going to be identified by the public IP of the entire organization. Whatever the public IP that it has, it is used to identify these machines. The question arises, how are you going to identify all 100 machines using the one public IP? Okay, what they do is, they maintain one table inside this gateway router with the help of which they are identifying these machines which are trying to communicate with other devices. For that, what they use is the port addresses of transport layer. Okay, so that will be going to come into the picture to identify these devices. Actually, this table contains two types of addresses for identification of the machines. One part is their private IP address. The other part of this table contains some public IP address, public IP address of this organization, plus some port number we will go to assign. Port number, which is port address, which is borrowed from the transport layer. We are not using only the concept of, say, network layer here. We are also using the ideas of transport layer here. Actually, it is a violation of that layering concept, but still it will be useful for us to use these public IP addresses for the these private IP addresses for public communication with the help of this idea. So the public IP address of the gateway plus some dummy port number, together they will create some unique number which will be useful for identifying the specific devices. Whenever it initiates a communication, it will going to assign some unique number which is a combination of public IP and port number. Which is a combination of public IP and a port number. That unique number will be used to identify a specific device in the internal inside the organization. Now see, in front of that, whatever the combination you are writing, in front of that you are also writing its public IP. So this is a kind of a mapping. So whenever a packet comes from it, it will going to be mapped with this. What is the actual port number it is using? Yes. And what is the private IP of it? In front of that you will going to have a public IP and some dummy port number which is not used by any of these machines. That combination of port number and public IP will going to identify a specific machine. Like this, they will create some kind of a lookup table. With the help of that lookup table, they perform a, say, communication with outside world. Whenever a packet comes from outside world, okay, so that will going to be routed to a specific machine with the help of this address. Whenever its request goes, there is no problem because this request is meant for some specific device. So based on that request, the packet will going to be routed. So what happens here when it comes to a routing of packets? So normally when it comes to IP addresses, what we say, IP addresses are fixed. It is decided by the sender. But in netting case, IP addresses will going to change. While leaving the organization, the IP addresses will change. IP addresses will going to be translated. It will going to be reassigned. Okay, the IP addresses will going to be reassigned to the packet. So because whatever the packet that is generated by this host, it contains the private IP which will not be recognizable by the outside world. So for that reason, when a packet enters the gateway router, that time the addresses will also change. The changed address will going to contain the public IP of this router plus destination's IP address. It remains as it is, but when it comes to the sender's address gets changed to a router's address. And combination of the port number and sender's address together will be used to identify the machines. Okay, these machines private IP address and some dummy port number will be useful for identifying this private IP address. So I hope it is clear to you people. You understood this. We are going to discuss next. We are going to discuss a DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So basically, as it was told to you, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol is again an idea that is used to utilize the IP addresses in a better way. This is also one of the technique to utilize the IP addresses in a better way. So normally, I told you the situation in the last video itself, like when exactly DHCP will going to come into the picture. So DHCP comes into the picture only when the machines which are getting the services from the ISPs. So utilize the IP addresses in a better way. ISPs, what they do is they are not going to assign the IP addresses permanently to the machines which join the ISP. whenever they want a services from the ISP, only during that time the IP addresses will going to be assigned to those devices. Okay, so whenever a device stops using the internet, the IP addresses will going to be taken back from the device and it will be used or it will be used for some other device. So by doing so, with a small set of IP addresses, it tries to satisfy the more number of devices. Okay, so that is what is the idea that is used in a DSCP. Now, how exactly DSCP works? Basically, there will be in a DSCP there will be say normally there will be a request for a DSCP sender, the machine which wants to be get connected to the internet. First it requests for the IP addresses to the service provider or ISPs or servers, DSCP server. So it may be anything. So here, for understanding reason, I am taking it as a ISP's DSCP server. It is requesting for the IP addresses. So in case if it has an IP address, one of the available IP addresses which are free, it allocates it to it. Yes, so it is requesting the IP address. So if the IP addresses are available, it allocates the IP address, and how much time this IP address is allocated, that too is specified over here. Okay, in case if a device wants to use this IP address for a longer period, it has to refresh that information. Okay, so then the device will be allocated the IP address. Thereafter, moment it completes the task, it has to relinquish the IP address. So this is how the DSCP works. Okay, so for the details of DSCP part, I am going to put the slides, so that you are going to understand how exactly DSCP will work. And also say post some slides. Okay, with the help of that you will come to know how exactly DSCP works. So this completes a fourth module. Okay, in the tomorrow's class I will try to discuss some examples on subnet and also on classless interdomain routing as well as classful addressing scheme. Okay, thank you very much.